This story was created by GineReboot. Help support her dreams over on Patreon and Ko-fi and give her some love on Twitter. On the distant planet Vegeta, a little girl, who is destined to become the most powerful Saiyan female in the universe, has just been born. This story takes us back many years ago, and long before the birth of Son Goku. In this alternate universe, we shall witness a new beginning to the legendary Super Saiyan warrior. One of Frieza's scientists, who almost looks like Planthor, but isn't, reads a chart and iterates. The first two infants have been classified as high-ranking warriors. The other will be marked as average. Infant number 6 will be sent to another planet. But remarkably, the power level of this generation is nothing to scoff at. We then have a medical doctor who has a similar but distinct appearance from Malacca. He agrees, replying, "This time, there are very few inhabitants who will be sent to other planets. There's no doubt the Saiyan race are the most potential-laden warriors ever known." Gazing down towards one of these future soldiers, the scientist remarks, "Now then, let's see the next child on the list. What do we have here?" With the information on hand, not Malacca enlightens. "This one's female. Corresponds to the name of Gine. Her power level is very low, but not low enough to be sent off planet. What do you think, Doctor?" Pondering for a moment. If her power level is within acceptable parameters, she will be allowed to stay on planet Vegeta, since those are the rules. Who knows? Maybe this child might surprise us one day. Now who's next on the list? 6 years later. The young Gine finds herself on the outskirts of town with 3 other Saiyans, when one of them slugs her in the face. He snickers. "You see? I told you you were too weak to train with us. You'd only be a hindrance to us." Standing, she hollers back, "That's why I need to train, so I can get stronger. I'll prove to you that I'm not a hindrance." Chortling, the bully responds, "If you don't want to be a basket case, Gine, then I'll let you train with us if you manage to hit me." Huh? Immediately doing so, Gine ducks and counters with a headbutt. She stands and exclaims, "I did it! I'm not sure how, but I managed to hit you. Now you have to let me train with you." Still reeling from the situation, the bully whimpers, "Not so fast! That doesn't count! I just slipped, and that hit was weak. I couldn't even tell it was a hit! You think you can get away with making fun of me? Now you're gonna have to fight all 3 of us at the same time!" Which naturally doesn't seem very fair to the young Saiyan. As the trio charge, their apparent leader cackles. "Did I forget to mention? You face one of us, you face all 3 of us!" Closing in. The entire group is caught off guard and knocked away by someone off camera. The bully barks, "Hey, who do you think you are butting into our fight?" Her protector is slightly obscured by the glare of the sun. She wonders who in the world this is. Needless to say, Bardock. Without turning, he utters to the bullies, "I saw you all fighting from a distance and had no intention of intervening. But since the fight was clearly one-sided, I decided to step in and help her. She obviously hasn't the slightest idea of what she's doing." Regardless, the group charges again, this time vowing to teach Bardock for butting into their business. He fearlessly charges back howling, "Bring it on! Show me if you can really fight!" Gine tries to get him to wait. "There are 3 of them. Don't fight him alone." But on second thought, maybe he doesn't need any help. Chasing him off, the hooligans promise this isn't over. He hasn't beaten them yet, causing Gine's hero to holler back, "Where's your Saiyan pride? Come back and fight me, you cowards!" Thinking to herself, this boy, he ended up fighting them because of her. She should at least make it up to him. spotting her opportunity in the form of a cut on his arm. She patches him up, much to the youngster's disapproval. He grunts, "I already told you, this isn't really necessary." Who responds, "Perhaps, but it's the least I can do after you stood up for me." Scoffing this off as, "Whatever," he questions, "Why were you fighting those losers anyway?" And it's not that she wanted to fight them. She just wanted them to take her in account for their training. Though Bardock chirps she not bother. They're big talk, but not that strong. She won't get very far training with them. As he lays down to gaze at the sky, she asks what the real reason is he decided to help her in the first place. And the truth is, it disgusts him when someone thinks they're stronger than everyone else and goes around weeding out the weak. He believes that even if a lower-class warrior like himself can train hard enough, he can overcome any adversary no matter what. And one day, he'll be strong enough to command the greatest fighting force in Saiyan history, and they'll all be lower-class warriors just like himself. Clearly enamored by his passion. He takes the end of his call to action speech to bid her farewell for now. But in the future, she should choose her fights more carefully. But she calls out for him to wait. She doesn't even know his name yet. Introducing himself as a Saiyan we already know, he tells her to remember the name well. One day, he's going to reach heights no other Saiyan has before. Gine drops to a bow. She exclaims to Bardock that the way she saw him fight those three was amazing. Does he think he can teach her to fight like that? She promises she won't be a hindrance. Bardock grows a smirk and thinks on the situation. "Whether I should help you or not depends on me. I'm a pretty busy guy. Besides, you don't look like the fighting type. Maybe you should stick to something else like tailoring, cooking, and cleaning. Not to mention that you're so clumsy in your movements. There's barely any room for improvement." With that clunk to the head, he admits that one actually hurt. She probably could have taken out those guys by herself if she had put more force into her punches. Which reminds him, what's her name? Stammering, she eventually reveals her name is Gine. And she's in luck. Bardock tells her she's convinced him to help her train. She needs to meet him here tomorrow at the same time and they'll go over the basics. She'd better be ready. He takes to the sky as he has to go for now. But for the time being, she should try to stay out of trouble. Waving him off, she thanks him and promises he won't regret this. But behind her, one of the goons from before. Jumping from the shadows, he figures since now that Lucky Punk is gone, it's time for a little payback. Thanks to this little harlot, he and his buddies had to suffer through that humiliation. He charges Gine from behind, cackling that she really thought he would let her get away with that nonsense. Now he's gonna make her suffer and no one's coming to save her this time. As someone else comes to save her this time. Celipa or Faja, depending on your preference. As he scurries away once again, she barks that that'll teach him to attack a girl from behind. Gine addresses her new savior as Faja. She asks what she's doing here. He whips her head around in a concerned fury, unleashing a slew of head knocks as good friends do. She scowls that she just saved her sorry hide and this is how she thanks her. And despite Gine's protest to stop the beatdown, Faja questions what's the big idea leaving in the first place. She had her worried sick and she better start explaining herself. Sometime later, the pair head off, likely back towards home. Faja, now calm, requests she explain why she left the group without telling anyone. Our hero tells how Faja always beats her in training. She can't keep up, so she decided to train with the older kids. But it didn't turn out how she expected at all. But it wasn't a total loss. She finally found the motivation she needs to become stronger. Curious, Faja inquires what she's talking about. With great fanfare, Gine announces that one day, she wants to join the greatest fighting force in Saiyan history, and the members of this team will be lower-class warriors just like her. Though her friend can't say she's ever heard of such a fighting force. What team is she talking about? And that's because it's non-existent. But she met a boy who dreams of accomplishing such a feat, and when that time comes, she wants to be there with him. But in the background, Faja's sorry to say that's not going to happen. Because if such a team ever exists, she herself is definitely going to be a part of it. And if Gine thinks she can really surpass her, she wants to make a wager. For a little extra motivation, she wants to put those precious earrings on the table. When the time comes to prove which of them is the strongest, those babies will be the spoils. Which works just fine for our hero. Gine vows, "Deal! I'll prove that I can be much stronger than you, Faja. I'm not backing down without a fight." Something her friend doesn't plan on letting happen. With it settled, from this moment on, the two of them are arch rivals. They will train in their own ways to get stronger. But no, Gine doesn't want to be mortal rivals. Faja promised that she'd go with her to snatch that delicious candy that got confiscated after the Elite Saiyans conquered the planet it was on. She promised! Which does bring up a good point. Faja actually forgot about that. In that case, they will just have to become arch rivals after they do that. Gine then argues that the presentation for the new Scouters is in just 3 days. She promised they would go together to see that too. She doesn't want to go by herself. Relenting yet again. It's fine. After that, the two of them will be. And Faja also promised to try out the new combat armor with her. She can't go back out of that now, causing her friend to grumble. Alright then, after doing all the things that we said we'd do together, then we become arch rivals. Will that make you happy? Which does work for our affectionate hero. But she has a question. If Faja wins, she gets her earrings. But what does she herself get if she wins? With the single word response, the friend only utters, "Respect." Not exactly to the approval of our focal character. With their destinies and goals set in motion, what adventures will Gine, Faja, and Bardock get into? And with this alternate reality much different from the story we know, just how much will change for the trio? The following day, Bardock kept his word and helped Gine improve her fighting abilities. Day by day, she could feel herself getting stronger. But training wasn't the only thing they did. They actually started having fun together. During these days, they would spend hours talking, stargazing, or simply getting lost in thought beside one another, merely enjoying each other's company. To show her appreciation in her own way, she'd occasionally prepare some kind of food for her friend. How much Bardock enjoyed it made her feel good. Although Gine liked spending time with the young Saiyan, there was a brooding something about his personality she didn't quite understand. Whenever she would see him around other Saiyans, including the other kids, his attitude would become much more serious, cold, even somewhat arrogant. But whenever the two were alone, he was a completely different person. She doesn't know why he acted that way, but didn't really care in her heart of hearts. His company was enough to make her happy. Watching the sunset, she scooted in closer to rest her head on his shoulder. And being as oblivious as his future son, he questions what's gotten her so clingy. Is she cold or something? He simply tells him to never mind that. What's important now is they just enjoy this moment. Gine thought this time with Bardock would last forever, but the reality of the Saiyan race would soon be upon us. The young man's fighting abilities soon caught the attention of the Saiyan elites. They immediately decided it was time for him to continue his training outside of planet Vegeta. In other words, this meant Bardock would have to leave for a faraway land for a really long time. A short while later, with reality setting in, Gine asks if he really has to go. But this is the opportunity he's been waiting for. If he stays here, then he'll never know how much stronger he could get. He can't miss this chance. He's finally going to start training to become a strong warrior. It makes sense that the next stage of his training would be off-planet, even if it means being away from home for a while. And since he's leaving tomorrow, he better go home now and start preparing for his journey. Bardock stands. He tells Gine he's really liked hanging out with her. For some reason, he just really loves her company, as well as her food. But he'd better get going, telling her to take care of herself. But already? He's leaving already? Gine panics and stands to shout for him to wait. Before he goes, there's something she has to tell him. Not knowing quite how to put it into words, she thanks him for training with her. The time they spent together has been unforgettable, probably the best time of her life. And since she won't see him again for a while, she wanted to tell him that she really, likes... As the volume of her voice betrays her, a bit too shy to reveal how she feels. Bardock asks, "You like what? You're not making any sense. Just tell me." And the thing is, ever since they've been together. Well, what she means is, the two of them. See, he's her best friend and she likes it. Though again, too shy to say what she really means. Bardock interrupts again to utter he doesn't understand her. Quickly whipping out Plan B, she assures that she knows that he has just what it takes to become a great warrior. She'll also be working hard so she can become part of his awesome squad. Relishing in the praise, Bardock chuckles that was rather well spoken of her. Once he returns, he will show her what a true Saiyan warrior looks like. Taking off, he shouts it's been fun hanging out with her and wants to do it again someday. She waves him off, hoping to see him again and wishing him a safe trip. Though on the inside, she doesn't know whether it was a fear of rejection or because she didn't want to potentially ruin their last moment together. But either way, she didn't have the courage to tell him her true feelings. The next day, she watched as the spaceships carrying him left the planet and leaving her behind with an empty heart. She was confused since Saiyans don't normally experience these sort of emotions, but it was how she felt nonetheless. But at least she still has one friend by her side to keep her company. Her mortal rival, Faja. Gine thought she understood a little about what she was going through, but for the sake of her Saiyan pride, she kept it to herself. From that day forward, she knew things were going to be a lot different. After all, they live in a survival of the fittest world, so she would have to do her best to wait for the day Bardock would come home. Planet Vegeta suburbs, several years later. One night, an old and sickly Saiyan pushed himself to get back in shape. To little avail. The old-timer curses his own old and feeble body. Stepping in, a woman questions the man, named Oniat, what he's doing on the floor. Gine, all grown up. She's seen carrying a tray filled to the edges with food. Setting it down, she chastises that he was exercising again, wasn't he? The doctor told him that he should be resting, not making it worse. He'll never get better at this rate. But he argues not to lecture him. He's a seasoned warrior. He doesn't need some quack telling him what to do, beckoning what she's even doing here anyway. She explains that she decided to bring him some food since he is her responsibility now. She offers to help him up. Getting him to his feet, he admits that he may be a walking corpse, but he can handle himself. After all, he's Oniat, former general of King Vegeta's most elite warriors. He doesn't need. Talking over him, she already knows all that. He can save his whole proud warrior speech for the Veterans Hall, but his stubbornness doesn't work on her. Besides, she already knows how much he likes having a pretty girl like her being his caretaker. Prompting him to blush and question why she's even here again anyway. Getting him to his bed, which appears to be made out of really comfortable concrete, she explains that when she was little, her parents died during one of their missions, leaving her all alone. She was uncertain that she was ever going to have a future after that, but then he found her and was kind enough to take care of her and raise her as his own protege. That's not something you'd expect a Saiyan warrior to do, and for that she's truly grateful. So now it's her turn to take care of him. Though his pride causes him to only scoff at this, he reminds that he can take care of himself. In the old days, he was the greatest warrior to ever serve the royal court. He has never lost a fight and has conquered several planets. He was even proclaimed the best Saiyan for over a decade. But now, those days are long over. Now he's just a weak old man who has been forgotten. Gine argues that's not true. He still has her, doesn't he? Pausing. After all these years, it's still a mystery to even himself why he chose to take her in. Maybe it's because she reminds him of his late daughter. She was every bit the weirdo Gine is after all, but she was a Saiyan with a good heart, something that's usually scoffed upon by their race. In a world where war is second nature, that trait of hers led to her demise. He couldn't stand seeing Gine go through the same. He tells her how they both know his illness will soon take his life, so before that happens, he wants her to have her armor. It would mean a lot to him. With a reluctant face, she tells her mentor that she appreciates that, but that armor isn't combat worthy and she plans on becoming a great warrior someday. Taking a drink, Oniat advises she may want to amend her plans. She doesn't look like the world-conquering type. Besides, she has no clue what it means to take a life. But in the end, it is her decision. He had also heard a rumor that she was going to compete in the upcoming tournament and earn a spot on one of the new combat teams. She could have done this years ago, so why register now? Sporting a mild blush, she claims there's no reason. She was just waiting for the right time to find a place among her fellow Saiyan warriors is all. Several days ago, Gine notices a small crowd gathering and wonders what's gotten their attention. Getting a closer look, it's the tournament roster for potential warriors split into teams. Reading it over, she couldn't believe it. Bardock's name is listed among them, meaning he's finally returned home. Not only that, but he is the leader of his own squadron. Looks like he's trying to find new members to join his team, so this is her chance. In present time, Onia warns the tournaments are very merciless. She could end up losing her life. Is she absolutely certain this is what she wants? She explains that she's waited her whole life for this moment, so there's no turning back now. She's going to fulfill her dream and be part of the best combat team to ever emerge from Planet Vegeta. With her goal set and her one and only opportunity in front of her, how will Bardock react to seeing Gine for the first time since they were children? Will her affections continue to go unrequited? More importantly, how will she fare in a tournament against the strongest Saiyans the planet has to offer? The next day, at the Great Battle Coliseum, an arena where nearly all the Saiyan tournaments take place, a group of warriors stand in attention. Among these warriors, Gine, of course. Another directs that by King Vegeta's decree, all assault teams can only consist of 5 members. Everyone present are the final considerations to be picked for that 5th and last spot. Only the finest soldier will move on from here. However, the tournament itself isn't what's captured our hero's imagination, though the reason itself why she's here in the first place. She thinks that after so long, she's only a few steps away from joining Bardock's team. She can't help but giggle at the thought that he's right there after so many years. She knows there's no mistaking that spiky hair of his. He looks exactly like the warrior she was hoping he would one day become, and more. Counting, it looks like his team already has 4 members, so she needs to do whatever it takes to fill that last vacancy. As the Saiyan in charge takes exception to her daydreaming, he screams at her to pay attention and he's not going to be repeating himself. The system is pretty simple. They select the team they want to join, but have to earn their place via 2 straight victories in organized one-on-one combat. The rules are just as simple. You lose if you surrender, lose consciousness, or die. Which also means Gine's odds have just improved by that much. Instead of having to win a tournament of 12 or more, she only has to win one of 4. And if all she has to do is win 2 measly fights, she's sure she can do this. Approaching him, she shouts out to Bardock that it's been a really long time and it's good to see him again. She bids him congratulations on making squad captain. She knew he had what it takes. She's gonna do her best to earn a place on his team, and cutting her off, he sternly tells her that she should be focused on the upcoming fight instead of talking to him, condescendingly asking if she even knows who her opponent is. With that less than warm reunion, Gine's left disappointed. She thought he would at least be a little happy to see her. He didn't even let off the smallest of smiles. But he does have a point. She still needs to figure out who she's going to be fighting. While it's not likely she'll know their fighting style or anything, it'll be good to size them up a bit. That's when a voice rings from behind, chuckling to look no further because her opponent has found her. Stepping into frame, another spiky-haired Saiyan spouts, "It's been a long time, loser." But unfortunately for her, he is her first opponent. But this time there won't be anyone to save her. He's going to enjoy breaking her until she begs for death. And it clicks with our hero. This is the child that bullied her when they were kids. Somehow he's really held on to that day all those years ago when Bardock beat him up and his 2 friends. For the sake of standing up for Gine, of course. Not long later, an announcer's words bounce wall to wall in the Baron Chamber that the first match will now be underway, and for the fighters to enter the ring immediately. The bully, already in place, scoffs as he wonders if Gine's going to run away or face him. Though either way, this'll be an easy win. Slowly, our hero makes her way into view. She tries to mentally gather herself, trying to keep calm, breathe deep, and think of a strategy. This is what all these years of training has been about. She can't afford to lose this fight. when Bardock suddenly walks past her. Without making eye contact, he reminds that her opponent may be stronger than her, but he's not smarter or faster. Don't attack him head on. Wait for an opening. Leaving our hero to wonder why he'd go out of his way to give her such advice given their interaction from just a few minutes ago. But it doesn't matter. She's just grateful. As both fighters get in position, the announcer dictates that the first match will start on his order. On the left, Gine. On the right, Icon. Calling for them to start, Icon screeches that he'll give his foe credit for not hightailing it out of here, but he won't be showing any mercy. He's going to break that pretty little skull of hers.
Stand still, damn it!
Showcasing her agility, Gine's opponent grunts that kick will be the last time she makes a fool out of him. Away, Toma and Bardock spectate the battle. The former comments that if that Gine woman wants to win, she should be attacking with more force. She doesn't look very strong, but her speed is impressive. Perhaps that's the sort of thing they need to balance out their team. Asking his captain what he thinks. Baiting another attack, Gine notices just how much faster she is. Dodging has actually been pretty easy so far. For now, she wants to keep reading his attacks and wait for the opportunity to strike. Meantime, she'll also try to think of a secondary strategy.
You're mine now!
Getting a hold of our hero, Icon holds her several feet in the air by her head. All the while cackling, she's an even bigger pest than he imagined she'd be. But now, her luck has finally run out. He was looking forward to putting an end to her miserable existence, but he's decided to give her one last chance to beg for her life. Smirking, he's feeling generous, so if she says the right things, he may just let her live.
Go on, say it! Beg for mercy! Plead for your life!
With that kick, Icon smiles that it looks like she has a death wish after all, which is fine with him. Knocking her across the arena floor, she begins to lose confidence. Inside, she feels like she should have seen this coming. She took her speed for granted, but it can't end like this. She has to think of something fast or he's going to kill her. When something catches her eye from outside the ring. Oniat! But what's he doing here? He should still be resting because of his illness. She can't believe he came all the way out here just to see her. Now she really can't afford to let him and Bardock see her in this pathetic state. The latter's starting to look like he has emotions after all. Trying to pull herself up, she grits that if all it took was 2 blows to take her down, she's weaker than she thought. However, she won't let it end like this. She screams at herself to get up. Standing, she chuckles the fight isn't over yet and to bring it on. Much to the surprise of her foe, he charges up an attack while complimenting how persistent she is. But this fight is starting to bore him, so this'll be his last attack. The smoke clearing, Icon takes pride in that last blast. It must have been so powerful it completely vaporized her. But after all, that's what happens when someone goes up against someone like him.
How are you still alive? I won't fall for that one again!
Possibly breaking her ankle and putting an end to her biggest advantage in her speed. The brute growls that she's not so confident without her speedy little legs now, is she? Though he has to admit, she put up a better fight than he thought she would. But now it's over. Bardock clenches his fist in anger at this most recent turn of events. Even he doesn't see a way of Gine surviving this. Keeping the grudge alive, Icon glances over his shoulder towards Bardock, only hoping he's watching close because his little girlfriend is about to die. And once he's a part of the team, he'll make sure that he is soon to join her, making himself the squad leader. He takes to the air and shouts that Gine put on a good show, so she'll have the honor of falling to his most powerful attack. Since she can't move, this victory is in the bag. As she lies motionless on the ground, she pushes herself onto her elbows out of frustration. She's come too far to let it end like this. Her goal is still within reach. She's not giving up now.
Disappear from this world! Gine! What the?
Just like when they were kids, looks like Gine retained a bit of unexpected muscle memory from her most memorable strike on her bully. Calming himself, Bardock laughs that perhaps an attack like that is deserving of a name. And with Icon plummeting to the ground unconscious, Gine is crowned the winner by knockout. She will advance to the next and final round. With her victory, albeit at the temporary use of one of her legs, who will face off against Gine in the next? Could it perhaps be another one of her bullies? Or someone on the complete opposite side of the spectrum? And will the Saiyans allow her time to heal from her injuries via medical machine or other means? Or will they be much more ruthless? After Gine's victory, an announcer's voice bounces from wall to wall advising all visitors that King Vegeta himself has granted them the honor of being in his presence as he spectates the final round. So the two fighters better put on a good show. The warrior's adopted father reaches down to help her up. He jostles that it looks like it's his turn to get her back on her feet for a change, and it finally looks like she used that thick head of hers for something useful. Her injuries aren't too serious, and she'll have a few hours to recover before the next match, but she's definitely going to need to spend that time in the healing chamber. Gine jabs back if the old-timer's sure he's up for getting her back to her feet. Is he positive he won't collapse on her? This is her first victory, so don't go ruining it now. Though Oniat's face grows stern for a moment to stress the seriousness of the situation, there are times he does really worry about her. Glancing over to a particular Saiyan, Gine can't help but wish he wasn't the only one who worried about her from time to time. Oniat humors her. He questions if she's referring to that young man Bardock over there, the one she's known since she was a child. When everyone thought Gine was about to die, he was so worried that he was going to intervene in the fight and save her, even if it cost him his position as squad leader. He's just your run-of-the-mill Saiyan who's incapable of expressing his true feelings, causing her to become red in the face. Bardock was worried about her? The very realization is enough to give her a surge of energy, wiggling around and fidgeting in excitement. Oniat has to demand that she stop squirming around like that and act like an adult. He's going to end up dropping her and making her injuries worse. The announcer again chimes in to declare that the next match for the final position on Team Bardock is about to begin. The participants are to make their way to the arena immediately. Toma quips how Gine may have just gotten lucky. Nonetheless, it was a good fight. But Bardock is quick to call him out and bluntly say that he's wrong. It wasn't just luck. She was perfectly aware and her attacks weren't very effective, so she decided to concentrate on hitting her opponent exclusively in the head. As weak as her punches, kicks, and everything else in between were, if focused to a single point, it would eventually pay off. Evidently, Icon, her opponent, was knocked out by all the damage caused by rocking his tiny brain around that empty skull of his. But Toma still has to think luck was on her side, although something tells him that Bardock is actually glad she won, who claims not to have a clue what he's talking about. Before heading off to the medical bay, Gine tries to rein in Oniat for a moment so they can watch the last match. She wants to know who her next opponent's going to be, and said match is over already, an instant KO. But what happened? How could someone have finished a fight so quickly? And regardless how, we know who. The winner by knockout is Faja. She'll move on to the final round against Gine, who didn't even know she was competing also. She scoffs that Gine was so distracted, she didn't even notice she was here. Faja hopes she'll be ready soon, because she plans on fighting like her life depends on it. She's going to be the one who takes the last spot on Bardock's team, destroying whoever gets in her way. While this will be interesting, Gine warns her not to expect anything less in return. Shortly after, in the medical ward, Oniat comments to the doctor that this woman is full of surprises. She's a lot stronger than it would first appear, who actually heard through the grapevine that her match was quite the fierce one. Still, no one really expected her to actually win. At any rate, it shouldn't take her too long to recover. She'll be ready just in time for the next fight. However, he's afraid there's nothing they can do about Oniat's illness. The old man explains that there's no need to bother. He's already accepted his fate. All he can do now is try to set Gine on the right path to be a better Saiyan. This fight is important to her, but even if she wins a spot on Bardock's team, it might not be the best thing for her. A short time later, Gine's elder tries to think back to who exactly Faja is to his surrogate daughter. If memory serves right, the two of them were friends once. And now? Gine admits it's kind of hard to tell. They were always friends when they were kids, but they just sort of drifted apart after choosing different paths to get stronger. Gine didn't think she'd be facing her in this tournament, but now is as good a time as any to figure out which of them is the superior Saiyan once and for all. The old man then questions if they used to fight a lot when they were kids. If so, did Gine ever manage to defeat her? And they used to spar a lot. And nope, Gine never defeated her, not even once. But how can she just say that so casually? She figures, well, it's all in the past now. They haven't fought each other in a long time. They've both been training separately. If Gine wants to beat her, she has to believe she's strong enough to win. She can't think about losing. It's not like she's saying it's going to be easy, but she knows it's possible. She's not as weak as she once was. And now that she's all healed, Gine's ready to rumble and has a good feeling about this fight. Meeting center stage. The announcer calls for the last match that will determine the final member of Team Bardock to begin. For this occasion, His Majesty King Vegeta III will do the honors of pronouncing the winner. Faja taunts her childhood friend that it's not too late to quit now and save herself the embarrassment of losing. But Gine chuckles at the thought of wasting the opportunity of a lifetime of defeating Faja in front of everyone, including the king. Nah, she's gonna enjoy this. This prompts Faja to insist Gine stop kidding herself. She's never had what it takes to beat her before. What makes her think this will be any different? Though Gine thinks her adversary here is being a little overconfident, this simply has been a long time coming. But now nothing is going to stop her from finally taking Faja down. After this trash talk, King Vegeta calls for the start of the match. Faja shouts from above she can tell Gine's gotten a lot stronger, but it's not good enough. And if she doesn't get up this instant and make this fun, she's really going to be disappointed. Effortlessly dodging the barrage of beams. The favorite to win this bout grows annoyed with such a boring, desperate attack. She taunts her foe, what's the matter? Did she finally run out of lame tricks? Using the barrage of little attacks as a distraction, Toma actually starts to get a little impressed. It's a real shame they can't get both of them on the team. He suggests to Bardock they kick out Bumbukin. That way they have 2 vacancies for these girls. Though he doesn't really humor this statement, he points out how Faja made the mistake of underestimating Gine. She doesn't realize Gine's strength has increased after her fight with Icon. But even so, neither one is losing ground, even remotely. The next one to make a mistake might be the one to lose. But they wouldn't know because they're too busy acting like children to be paying attention. Watching on, this brings back memories for Oniat. Back when she was a child, nobody wanted to train with Gine. She was considered to be too weak and small. But Faja, despite being very popular among the youngsters, was the only one to ever approach her. After that, the two were inseparable, like siblings. He's positive that, at this moment, neither one of them cares about earning a place on the battle team. Just looking at their faces is enough to know that they are enjoying a good fight between sisters. Pinning Gine. Faja beckons how she expects to get out of this one. The more she struggles, the more it's gonna hurt. The way Faja sees it, she could snap her arms like little twigs. Either that or surrender now. Toma thinks this one's finally over. He doesn't believe Gine's gonna be able to free herself. Again, Faja taunts there's nothing Gine can do. Just say those 2 magic words and this will all be over. But she won't let that happen. Gine intends to win this match. Frustrated, her foe scouts for our hero not to be a fool and this fight is over. Gine has already proven herself to be a good fighter. Nobody's going to say she's weak or a coward anymore. Freeing herself, Oniya states that the pair are now on the decline. If they go on much longer, King Vegeta may have to intervene and decide the winner himself. Though somehow, they both manage to get back on their feet. After another bout of trash talk, neither has the energy to keep going. So Faja plans to put the rest of her energy into one last blow, resting solely on the philosophy that the better Saiyan will come out the winner. Gine agrees to do the same, mirroring a situation her second-born son would find himself in a certain tournament of his own one day. But is this foreshadowing her own defeat, or will the results be different? As they collide, the intense shockwave created by their clash sends them flying in opposite directions. With both contestants unconscious, it'll be up to King Vegeta to decide the winner. Pumpkin and Toma argue about semantics, with the former believing that it's stupid they're only allowed to select one for their team in the first place. It's a tough decision, but if it were up to him, he'd choose Faja. Regardless of how he feels, it's going to be left up to their king since neither one can rise to their feet. Shouting for silence, Vegeta dictates that it's clear that both contestants are unable to continue and he doesn't have all day to sit here. Since both of them are unable to move, he has made his decision on who the victor shall be. As they all know, King Cold has appointed his son Frieza as the successor to his cause. However, like father and son, they have always belittled and humiliated the Saiyan people in their pride. The main reason for this tournament is to create battle teams with the strongest and deadliest warriors, so they can show these monsters that the Saiyans are not to be taken lightly. Now, regarding the winner of this fight, he addresses Bardock. He tells the father of Goku that these two fighters have indeed shown a lot of promise. Under different circumstances, he would make an exception to the rules and just have them both join his team, but doing so would make them look soft in front of the Frost Demons. To decide the 5th member, Bardock himself will take Gine and Faja with him on their next mission. The one with the best results will be the one who remains on the team. Ironically, amidst his speech, Gine was the first to be able to stand on her own. While Faja retains consciousness herself, she can only curse the situation. Their new/temporary commander instructs the pair to head to the medical ward to get themselves healed immediately. They will leave as soon as they are healed. A few minutes later, Faja screams through her oxygen mask that this is ridiculous. She shouldn't be in here. This is all Gine's fault. Never in all of her years of fighting has she ever been put in a situation like this. Gine must have cheated somehow. But she did no such thing. She's just been training really hard. That's all. Faja knew she'd be working hard to get on the same team as Bardock, but she tried to take that away from her. Though it's not like Faja had a choice. She was a little late and this team was the only one left with a vacancy. She was supposed to have won this fight. Gine reminds that Faja was the one who wanted to be arch rivals when they were kids and started all this. Now she's just being a sore loser. A sore loser? Faja could never lose to Gine. Then why is she in that tank? With the less than convenient location of their respective medical machines, Oniya questions the doc just how long they'll have to spend in there. which unfortunately will be a few hours, at least. Who in turn worries that the chambers can handle so much bickering. As their much anticipated match comes to a stalemate, what will they encounter on their mission that will set them apart as the best fit for Bardock's team? After the two of them heal from their battle, Gine enters with something to say to her childhood friend. She reminds that she's really glad the two of them got to see each other again. They had a good fight and both still have a good chance to be on Bardock's team. So whichever of them wins, they shouldn't let any bad blood between them. She doesn't answer, only tensing up and standing silent for a moment. Before turning and getting in Gine's face, she wants to get one thing straight. She will not allow her to embarrass her again. From now on, she's gonna beat her at everything they set out to do, so Gine better watch her back. When Bardock walks around the corner, shouting both of their names for attention, he questions if they're both healed. The team is ready to head out, prompting Faja to quickly turn 180 and spout that she's ready to go and ready for anything. Perhaps anything is the right word. Taking him by the arm, she utters that she'd appreciate it if he could fill her in on the mission. Leaving Gine to wonder, what do you think you're doing? Only staring back at her dumbfounded. Faja shoots her a little smirk as they exit the room, sending Gine into a fury that this means war. Shortly after preparations, Bardock's team departed planet Vegeta to complete their assignment. Landing, they gaze out to a city on an alien planet. Bardock informs the team that this is an in-and-out mission. Frieza wants them to gain possession of some strange minerals that are unique to this planet. They're under the orders to leave this world's ecosystem intact as much as possible. Their main focus is to eliminate the native life forms. Toma adds that the scouters indicate there are only 6 cities on this wayward rock. Continuing, the captain iterates that to save time, they'll split up. Each one of them will take a city and eliminate its inhabitants. They'll meet in this spot once they're done. Turning to Gine, he tells her that she'll be in charge of eradicating this city along with the people inside. Are they clear? A task that is easily understood by the eager Saiyan. When Pumbukin brashly shouts out that they'll be done faster if they just blow it up in one shot, causing Toma to scold this idiot that Frieza wants his planet as intact as possible. Don't just recklessly fire blasts like that, otherwise he'll have their heads. But their heads? That's one of Pumbukin's favorite things about himself. So Teppo heads out as their leader has one last thing to say. Everyone knows what to do. They'll go in their own directions and purge the cities. And remember, try not to damage the planet if they can help it. With the girls, their competition continues as Faja sneers that she bets she can take out more of these natives faster than Gine, who replies that she wishes. She'll see in the end when she's exploring the galaxy with Bardock in his squad. Not exchanging further words, Gine flies away. She notes that Pumbukin's attack did a lot of damage, but her scouter's still showing signs of life in the city. She'll just have to finish what he started. There's no way she's going to let Faja win. Kicking in a door, she spots a family of 3 huddled together in fear after the initial chaos. Charging up, something comes over the Saiyan, trying to get her resolve back. She can, but she wonders what's wrong with herself. Why is she trembling? This should be easy. So why is she hesitating? She's prepared her whole life to be on a team with Bardock, and here she is just one stop away from achieving that goal. She bellows to herself not to be a coward and to just kill him now. When the toddler speaks up, is she here to help them? They're really scared. Firing a hole in the building and creating a way for them to escape. She informs that they have to get off this planet as soon as possible. They need to find a ship immediately and not look back. As the trio make their getaway, their father looks back to thank her for her help and information. Letting him go, she can't help but hope showing him mercy is not going to come back to bite her. Either way, she has a job to do. But as she goes to resume her mission, she's met with dozens of cries for help. Unfortunately for her, she doesn't have the heart to leave all these innocent people to their deaths. One situation at a time, she helps get the locals out of the debris. gathering as many as possible as she informs everyone their planet is under attack. There are invaders seeking to exterminate them all. There's no time to lose. They have to evacuate the planet now. When a mother pleads for her help, her son is still trapped inside their burning home. Of course, the Saiyan is able to save him, although it was a pretty close call. She passes him to his mom as she repeatedly thanks her for her heroism. She doesn't know what she would have done without her, pleading to at least know her name. Revealing it. She stands by as many of the survivors board a ship. They let her know they're extremely grateful for leading them all to safety. They will never forget her kindness, thanking her once again. While she doesn't feel bad about helping them out, somewhere in her mind she knows it won't be without consequence. Meanwhile, on a far-off Arctic planet, a couple of Saiyans talk amidst a mild snowstorm. The one on the right wants to just face it. There's nothing of value on this planet. It's time to notify the commanders back on planet Vegeta. As he announces his recon to base call, something takes out his comrade. In the shadow of whatever monster this is, his scouter didn't even pick it up. Also meanwhile, Gine is pondering why she decided to help the native inhabitants evacuate instead of simply purging them. Something truly unbecoming of a Saiyan warrior. Not long after, the others arrive. Toma chuckles to color him surprised. He didn't think Gine would make it back before them. Pumbukin adds that she's the first out of all of them to get the job done. She really must want to be on the team. Looks like Faja might just have to look elsewhere. Leading whom to question if she really wiped them all out that fast. Although sporting a coy expression, we're drawn to Bardock, who gets a call on a scouter. Home base contacts him to deliver some information. Big Orange spouts for Faja to lighten up. Can't she tell by just how filthy Gine is? Obviously she completed her task. Maybe she's just jealous because she got the job done before her. Activating a scouter, Toma notices something quite troubling. It seems there are a considerable amount of life signs fleeing the planet. They haven't gotten very far, so he requests Otepa to go and take care of them. Who's happy to do so. This'll be easy. But knowing full well how those natives escaped, Bardock informs that won't be necessary. They've already accomplished their mission here in conquering the planet. Going after those who have fled would be a waste of time. If they ever come back, they'll make them wish they hadn't. For now though, they have another mission to complete. He's just been informed that one of their recon teams have mysteriously disappeared on a planet they're scouting out. So the next job is to investigate and find out what happened. They'll be working together on this one, so he expects them all to fulfill their duties to the letter. Looking at Gine, he asks if this is understood, prompting her to meekly reply that it is. On her way to her next mission, Gine, for the first time in her life, started to have doubts about her decision to become a warrior. After all, she can't even bring herself to kill anyone. All the while, she's ignorant of the fact that she'll soon have to use all of her strength and courage to overcome her next trial. Landing. An annoyed Faja calls out what Gine's waiting for. She needs to get out of her pod and help them get to the bottom of this. At the moment, nobody's picking anything up on their scouters. Is it possible this isn't even the place? Toma at least believes so without a doubt. But something isn't right here. After the explosion rocks the area and destroys the nearby ship, the others wonder what that was. And where's Gine? Lucky for her, Bardock was able to get to her in time and lift her to safety. Trying to gather heads or tails out of the situation, Saiyan thinks that attack came out of nowhere. If they had taken it head on, he doubts that any of them would have survived it. But where did it come from? What could have caused something like that? When Gine shyly utters Bardock's name to get his attention, even though she's really grateful that he saved her, does he think he could put her down now? The source making itself known. Gine hollers that thing just blew up her pod and now it's coming for all of them. At least now it's no secret how they lost contact with the recon team. Staring off with the beast, Pumbukin barks for the others to stand back. He's gonna make mincemeat out of this thing. But the blast doesn't even faze it. Their commander screeches for both of them to get out of there now. Attacking, the gang evades the creature's assault, but it seems to be as fast as it is durable. At the same time, it appears to be targeting their pods. Faja knows they have to find a way to divert that thing away from the ships, relenting to work together despite her previous statements. Though they may have just made it adorably mad. If anything, it's only angrier now, but it is distracted, so Gine questions what the next plan is. But actually, Faja just now realizes she didn't think this all the way through. The energy blast speeding towards them. Faja frantically tells Gine they have to try to deflect it together. That's a lot of energy and she doesn't know if they can stop it. Smacking down. Faja comments how on everything hurts. Guess that monster was too much for him, asking Gine if she's still alive. Who is, but barely. She's definitely gonna feel that one tomorrow, hoping that thing doesn't have any more surprises like that. Before Toma warns the pair to get out of there. Tossing it into a mountain, Totepo really saved their necks. Now is the chance to counterattack before. Strange man making his appearance. Who the heck is this guy? He just took down Totepo and Pumbokin with just one attack. On top of that, how is he able to slip through the range of their scouters just like that creature? They better stay way more vigilant from here on out. When Gine makes a particular discovery. This man. With that tail, he must be a Saiyan. But just who could this mysterious fighter be? Obviously bearing Saiyan genetics. Could he also be a type of android? And if he has the strength of most of the cyborgs we know, how will Bardock and his crew stand up against him? The mechanized man snarls. To think, a low-class Saiyan managed to survive my pet. No matter. I have to do what comes next with my bare hands. This planet, like so many before you, will be your tomb. But telling him to hold on a sec, Gine has to ask, you're a Saiyan, aren't you? Who even are you? And why are you attacking us? We're all fellow Saiyans, comrades. There's no reason to fight. But fellow Saiyans? Comrades, he muses. She understands nothing. Saiyans know nothing about such foolish concepts. And that camaraderie she speaks of is a lie. His own teammates didn't hesitate to stab him in the back and leave him to die on the planet they were conquering. Fortunately, he continues, my desire for revenge has kept me alive. And thanks to the modifications I have made to my body, that will soon be possible. But for now I have to settle for eliminating all of you. Faja retorts, that doesn't make any sense. If you want revenge, shouldn't he take revenge only on those who betrayed you? We haven't done anything to you. The villain sneers they don't get it. Since they won't get out of here alive, there's no problem in explaining. My name is Kallion. During my last mission, my teammates conspired against me and left me for dead. Fortunately, I was discovered by a strange scientist who needed test subjects for his research. He offered to save me from the brink of death, as well as increase my power level. In exchange, I had to submit myself as his experiment. Naturally, I accepted. But when I first came to, he was gone. What I did find, however, was my new and improved body and strength. So I decided to put them to the test by traveling to this planet, which is inhabited by these powerful creatures known as Steel Rippers. After defeating one, I realized that somehow I could control them thanks to the cybernetics in my head. My plan was to take control of as many Steel Rippers as I could find, then use their power to overthrow King Vegeta, then claim the throne for myself. I still don't have the strength I need to accomplish that, but I get stronger with each passing day. Now that you know, I can't allow you to leave this planet alive. Bardock chirps back. Enough! You're trying to make me cry with your story. One thing I understand, though. is that you're a coward who prefers doing things the easy way. Someone like you who abandoned a Saiyan pride can never be our king. Besides, you just tried to eliminate my squad, and that's something I will not tolerate. Sorry if this puts a dent in your little crusade, but I'm gonna have to take you down. The so-called Steel Ripper roaring back to life. Bardock questions Toma if he can hold off that monster on his own, who assures us no problem. They can handle this beast. He should focus on teaching that renegade what it means to fight a Saiyan who still has his pride. As Gine warns to look up behind him. Dodging the swing, Bardock sneers. A surprise attack? That's as treacherous as you are. You really have fallen. The villain replies, "Don't you dare lecture me! I am a survivor. I use every opportunity I see to my advantage in order to achieve victory." In response, you're just a coward who's using a power that's not your own, as well as those damn creatures to do your dirty work. You only got the drop into Teppo because, just like me, you caught him by surprise. But the fiend snarls like he just told him. He'll do whatever it takes to get his revenge. It doesn't matter what he says because in the end, they're all gonna die here. However, Bardock vows he's gonna need a lot more than those dirty tricks to take him down. Exchanging blows, the warriors separate for a moment as Kalyan thinks aloud. That's odd. I've been getting stronger every day. Any ordinary Saiyan should be inferior at this point. Yet how is this guy still keeping up with me? He can't just be a lower class Saiyan. Away, as the other Saiyans battle against the Steel Ripper, Hine can't keep her concentration and finds her gaze lingering on Bardock. Faja scolds for her to forget about him for now and focus on their fight. Casting off his poncho, the father of Goku smirks. Your new body just sealed your fate. It doesn't matter how much stronger you think you are. It's useless without the proper training of the mind and body. You have no control over your new strength, do you? Shut the hell up! My armor was crafted using the hide of the Steel Rippers. None of your meager punches could possibly leave a dent in it. I won't lose to you! Getting knocked backwards, Kalyan scowls. Damn it! Why? No mere Saiyan could possibly beat me! So how is he this strong? Not finished, the Saiyan bellows. There's more where that came from! Now you're finished! When another Steel Ripper emerges from the frozen terrain. Though unfazed, the warrior claims that his adversary underestimates his strength. His dependence on having these creatures fight for him is his weakness. When he appears behind our hero and snickers. And yours is your self-trust. Stabbing him! Bardock plummets to the ground as Kalyan cackles. That's what he gets for being cocky. Charging, he taunts how taking out the rest of his squad will be a breeze after he's dead. And this is what happens to those who are arrogant enough to challenge him. Now die! With Hina interjecting and catching him off guard. Kalyan picks himself up and utters, "Ha! So it's you! I have to admit you took me by surprise. I guess this means you want to be the first to die." Warning him to not dare take another step. She charges a blast and screams at him to stay away from Bardock. Comrades are impressed with their timing and foresight. But now they have to fight this thing on their own. Calling over to Pumpkin and Teppo. He scolds them to get up and help them out. Deflecting her barrage, Kalyan grunts that he grows bored of her. Now get out of his way! She ducks a blow and thinks now's her chance. But already knowing the mistake she's about to make, Bardock tries to tell her that's not going to work. She has to get out of there now! hitting him square in the face. He doesn't budge. He smirks. That first strike was based on pure luck. Now does she realize how outclassed she is against him? She thinks to herself there's no way. Despite everything she threw at him, he didn't even budge. Grabbing her, Bardock warns.
Kalyan, don't you dare!
Although having their hands full, Baja and Toma try to dash towards her, alerting that they're coming. But leering back at the duo, he demands they not interfere. They'll get their turn soon enough. Yet another Steel Ripper emerging. Baja wonders just how many of these things there are. Kalyan snorts that he's been summoning his pets this whole time. They fought well enough to stay alive, so he'll make them a deal. If they want to live, then they must swear their allegiance to him. And to prove that, they must eliminate their current team leader. With those injuries, killing him should be a walk in the park. If he were them, he wouldn't turn down them. When Gine blasts him from behind, she hollers at him to just shut up already. None of them are foolish enough to betray their own kind. They would all rather die than join a coward like him. And again with this, he furrows that she's just annoying. If she wishes to die so badly, then wish granted. Barely able to stand, he rushes in screaming that he's tolerated her arrogance long enough. Now die! Causing the injured Bardock to jump between the pair, hitting the icy tundra. He saved Gine, but at what cost if there's no one else who can match up against this villain? The Fiend raises an eyebrow and mentions, "Just as I was about to behead the woman, you thought you could save her. You were lucky enough to dodge my attack despite your injury." After Gine gets Bardock on his side, Kalyan smiles. "Or maybe you weren't fast enough." Gine sorrowfully questions why he did that. He was already 1 foot in the grave and now he's even worse off. She apologizes. It was her turn to save him, but she couldn't even do that. Now he's hurt because of her. Still conscious, he turns his head upward to quell she not sweat it. This is nothing. Besides, he couldn't have let him hurt her. Dealing with his own existential crisis, Kalyan doesn't understand why he would save her. Isn't she supposed to be the weakest member of his team? It makes more sense to remove such a liability. Bardock stands and hisses, "I'm not about to abandon my teammates. Besides, Gine means more to me than you'll ever know, but I wouldn't expect you to understand." The villain snarls and grumbles that taking a blow for someone weaker than him is utterly foolish. The weak serve no purpose other than to submit to the strong, not the other way around. Bardock grabbing Gine. He checks to see if she's okay. She seems to have lost consciousness. Kalyan takes to the air and bellows, "You disappoint me, Bardock. I thought you were a true Saiyan warrior, but you're nothing special. This fight has run its course and you no longer interest me. I don't even feel like killing you anymore." Cueing a Steel Ripper to lunge forward as he continues. "So instead, I'll leave you at the mercy of one of my pets, and your friends will be next." Not giving up yet, Bardock focuses his ki and hollers, "You will not hurt Gine any longer!" This blast piercing not only the Ripper, but also Kalyan. The latter screeches out, "How is this possible? You were on the brink of death! Where is this power coming from?" Slunking backwards, that was the last of it. Bardock poured all of his remaining energy into that blast. Clinging onto life, Kalyan ponders how that blast was able to penetrate both the Steel Ripper and his armor. He never would have imagined such a feat from a low-class warrior. when the beast lets out a final attack of his own. Falling into that giant hole in the ground, Faja tries to go after them when she's stopped by Toma. He instructs her not to leave her position. Swirling her head around and barking, "What's with you, Toma? Can't you see that Bardock and Gine need our help?" And he does. But if they scatter now, those creatures will likely destroy their space pods. They may never get off this planet. As one emerges, he furthers. "So before we can save our teammates, we must save ourselves first. Let's regroup and come up with a strategy to destroy these things." Surrounded by them. One was bad enough. Now there are 3 of them. They can only hope that more won't show up. A few moments later, deep beneath the surface. Bardock opens his eyes to reveal a blushing Gine. She exclaims how glad she is. She knew it'd pull through. Still with his focus on the combat, he jumps up yelling to know where that Kallion bastard went. Inadvertently aggravating his injury, she warns that he shouldn't move around too much. She was only able to patch up his wound to stop the bleeding, leading him to ask what happened during the battle. And what is this place? How did they get here? She explains how they somehow ended up deep beneath the planet's surface. She doesn't know what happened during the fight. When she came to, they were falling through that hole up there, but she managed to get them both to safety just before they hit the ground. In other words, it was her who saved them from falling and healed his wounds. However, she responds, not all of them. Patching up that final cut on Bardock, the scene mirrors back to when the two first met as children. Thinking back to this himself, the warrior smirks. "You know, I always thought I was the one who was always looking out for you, when it was really you who always took care of me." She assures it's the least she could do. He saved her so many times, so she thought they'd make a good team who always had each other's backs. He changes the subject. There's something he's been wanting to ask her about. On that planet they conquered, why did she save the inhabitants? Something she didn't know he saw happen. He explains how she wasn't reporting on her scouter, so he came back to check on her. If he had been anyone else, she would have been in serious trouble. Luckily, there was too much interference, but she knew the consequences would be dire. So why did she do it? Her body growing heavy. She admits it's hard to explain, but she just couldn't kill them. When she saw their terrified faces, she saw herself, her fears, her insecurity. She couldn't bear to leave them like that, so she decided to help them. Then wailing, "That mission was supposed to be easy, but I showed mercy to all of them. I prepared my whole life for this, and when the moment of truth arrived, I croaked." She apologizes if she disappointed him. If he feels he has to tell the others, she won't stop him. Checking out his freshly bandaged arm, he snickers that she's always been like that. He doesn't blame her for showing mercy on her opponents. If news of this reaches the king's ears, he doesn't even want to imagine what sort of punishment he'll give her, so he'll keep her secret. But she has to remember that they're Saiyans, conquerors. He knows she wants to do everything it takes to become a great warrior, but try to keep her compassion to a minimum in front of the others. She thanks him, offering to try. But while they're being honest with each other, a wave of energy washes over her as she comments that it's her turn to ask him something, and she wants him to be honest with her too. Is it true what he said to Kallion? Is she really that important to him? Does he really care that much? Tell her, tell her! Pausing a little, taken off guard, he begins. "Well, you see, I don't really recall what I said. I think the blood loss was making me delirious," sending her into a huff. Her sail's a bit deflated. She mutters how she thought he'd be happy to see her again after all these years. He always seems to have a cold, distant attitude towards others. When it's just the two of them, he went from that to a kind and funny person. But now, he was her best friend. She never forgot their time together, but then he treated her like a total stranger. With that, he'll be honest with her. Flashing back to when he was a kid, an adult voice taunts.
What's the matter, kid? A little out of sorts? Ha ha!
Bardock iterates. The training I was put through while off planet was harsh and cruel. It nearly killed me. I had to restrain myself from showing any sign of weakness if I wanted to survive. I was almost driven to the point of madness and despair. But there was one thing on my mind that kept me sane. It was you. He never forgot about all the time they spent together as kids. He's not entirely sure why, but he wanted to go back to her. When he saw her again after many years, he was perplexed. He was no longer the same as he was before. Seeing her made him feel weak, but strong at the same time. He couldn't understand it at all. That's why he acted the way he did around her. He couldn't let anyone, especially her, see this weakness and... Stopping himself, he's a little embarrassed as he's not used to saying stuff like this. So don't make him repeat himself. I never stopped thinking of you, Gine, and I was really happy to see you again. Gine is clearly moved by this. However, not reading her directly, he tries to step back believing nothing he said made any sense, asking her to just forget everything he said and they'll find a way out of here and... As her intimate moment is interrupted. It can't be. Is that... Kalyan! Gine screams, how dare he interrupt the most heartfelt moment of her life? Couldn't he have waited like 5 minutes? Oh, come on, Gine, give our boy a little more faith than that. Bardock doesn't understand. His wound should have been fatal. How is he still moving?
You're gonna pay for that!
Targeting Bardock right in his torso injury. Kalyan follows up his assault with a kick.
I will not let you ruin my plans! This time I'm gonna kill you!
Kalyan informs with all the modifications to his body. These injuries only serve to make him stronger. He barely feels a thing. Now he's going to end this once and for all. But seemingly completely oblivious to his bravado. Gine approaches Bardock to beckon if he's okay, pleading with him to wake up. Though completely silent, she cries no, not like this. The villain sneers for her to save her breath. He can't hear her anymore. Pity, since he was looking forward to making him suffer more. But she doesn't need to worry. He's sure she'll see him again, in the afterlife. Almost out of whisper, she replies, I won't forgive you.
I'll never forgive you!
A mysterious power engulfs Gine. Her eyes look wild, even feral. Kalyan takes note of this. She looks different somehow. He cowers to know what's happened to her. Barely opening his eyes. Bardock spectates what's happening.
Haven't you learned your lesson yet, woman? Your attacks have no effect on me!
Power vanishing as quickly as it arrived. Bardock rushes over to prevent Gine from ragdolling to the ground. He questions if she's alright. What did she just do? Embracing him. She's so happy to see he's still alive. Still a bit new to this affection thing. He coyly tells her to ease off. He's still seriously injured, remember? It hurts. Not retaining what just happened, she queries what happened during the fight. And seeing the villain buried in rubble, she asks if that's Kalyan. Did he do that to him? She exclaims, You're incredible, Bardock! I can't believe I missed out on all the action. He responds, Hold on, Gine. Are you saying you don't remember what happened? All she remembers is Kalyan knocking him unconscious. Then she feared the worst when he didn't get back up, so he assures her not to worry about it. He's not really sure what happened, but he's glad she's okay. By the way, it's kinda nostalgic seeing her with her hair down. It looks good. So he's saying he likes her better with her hair down. But he didn't say that at all. Stop twisting his words. He stammers much to her joy. When Kalyan springs back to life yet again, he just won't stay down. Breathing heavily, he exudes. You! That power was phenomenal. I think I'm starting to get you now. Gine, was it? I have a little proposal for you that you may find interesting. You have a lot of potential. It'd be a waste just to ignore it. How would you like to have modifications like me? We could search for the scientist who worked on my body and ask him to do the same for you. Also, when I become king of the Saiyans, I'll need a queen by my side. How does that sound to you? Interested? Grossed out, but imagining how she'd look nonetheless. She questions. You want me to be and modify my body like yours? She barks back. Are you insane? I would never join the likes of you. Adjusting his gauntlets, Bardock smirks. Negotiations are over. Gine wouldn't stoop to your level. Now, let's get this over with. Closing his eyes, he smugly retorts. I see. So you guys are a couple, are you? Guess that explains everything. On the other hand, I think you'll change your mind. Once Bardock is in pieces! So be warned! It defeated my plans and you'll die! Ready to do this, Bardock suggests Gine leave the rest to him. But she isn't gonna be singled out just yet. She's still got energy to spare. Her childhood friend, and now a possible partner, chuckles that she's a stubborn one. He insists that she just do as he says. However, she's resolved that he can forget it. He's in no position to do this on his own. With Bardock and Gine standing together against this menace, just how can they overcome a Saiyan, who seems to heal from his injuries immediately? Bardock realizes that no matter what he says, she's not going to change her mind, is she? She chorts, and you'd better get used to it. He resolves they've got no choice, so she needs to listen carefully. Even though Kalyan's body is more durable than their own, he must have a weakness. They'll keep pushing him until they find it, or when he runs out of stamina. No matter what happens, don't give him an inch to breathe. He gives the signal to attack. They've got to hit him with everything they've got.
You think attacking together will be enough to defeat me? You're dead wrong! Every wound makes me stronger! What? Hey! What are you doing? Don't let him go! Enough already!
A duo getting the upper hand for the moment. Kalyan blasts them both off of him as it appeared he was about to go for the finishing blow. Bardock hollers, "It's over, Kalyan! All that flexing just made you slower, and that's a fatal mistake on the battlefield." Meanwhile, Gine gags. "Ugh, he tasted disgusting!" after biting him. Maybe this is where Goku developed the habit. Fuming, the fiend grumbles.
Haven't you fools figured it out yet? All of your efforts have been for nothing! I can never be defeated!
Healing right before their eyes. It's only now our characters realize he's been able to do this all along, which explains his endurance. Any fatal damage they inflict on him, he just bounces back. And thanks to his Saiyan biology, he becomes stronger whenever he heals. Just how are they supposed to defeat something like this? Running at him, they have to stop him from healing.
Too little, too late!
Turning his sights onto Gine, he hisses.
For rejecting my offer, you will die first!
The final standoff commencing. Kalyan cackles that Bardock's last mistake will be protecting this woman, who realizes his foe can still keep recovering, even while he attacks. And with his own injuries becoming more aggravated by the second, he alerts Gine that he will hold him off as long as he can. She needs to use this chance to get out of here quickly. But powering up herself, he beckons,
What are you doing? I said run!
Though she doesn't care what he said, she isn't leaving him. Firing a blast of her own, she shouts, "We will finish this together!" Meanwhile, back on the planet's surface, Bardock's crew handles themselves well against the Steel Rippers, but Faja can't help but wonder what the heck is going on down there in that crater the others fell into. Toma calls for everyone to stay focused. More of these things are showing up. They're trying to destroy their ships. Zooming in to stop them from doing so, Faja has to ask if this will ever end. The intensity ramping up on both sides. Bardock continues to bicker with Gine to get out of here, who's just as stubborn and seeing this to the end. Amidst the beam struggle and all, Kalyan can hear the two going back and forth.
Shut up, both of you! If you want to argue so much, then do it in another world!
Bardock and Gine know they can't hold back any longer. Falling to a knee but persisting in his offense and defense, he thinks he's reached his limit. He begs for her forgiveness for not being able to protect her. Helping him back to his feet, she told him before, acting all high and mighty doesn't matter to her. He taught her never to give up and consistently get back up no matter what happens. Now it's his turn. He's not alone because he has her. He always has. Moved by this, he smiles. She furthers, "It doesn't matter if all seems lost. We'll never stop fighting. That's what a true Saiyan warrior is made of." Kalyan chirps back,
There's no point in struggling! Your efforts are only making me stronger! And once I fully recover, my power will continue to grow!
He closes his statement with "This has been fun, but now it's time to send both of them to Otherworld." His only regret is they won't get to see him become king of the Saiyan. When something interrupts the villain, he exclaims,
My body! What's going on?
Gine asks what's happening to him now as Bardock believes his modified body's starting to collapse. This is their chance to finish this, which is easy for Bardock to say. Gine grunts that she hardly has any energy left.
Do you still believe you can defeat me?
Bardock tells her on his signal she needs to release all the power she has left, who can only hope to try. When more chaos erupts from within the villain, the technology that gives him his immense power keeps falling apart.
No, no, no! What's happening to my body? And now! Ah! No! This can't be! Ah!
Victorious! Our heroes finally let themselves hit the ground and take a deep sigh of relief. Bardock extends a hand to congratulate his squad mate on a job well done. When it's revealed that somehow Kalyan's not only alive, but still standing, ready to keep going, Gine tells him to hold on. She realizes that he can't move. He no longer has the strength to fight. He fumes to himself in his defeat. How? I don't understand how I could lose! No matter how much damage I endured, my body was supposed to recover and grow stronger every time. So what went wrong? Could it be That attack from before was different from all the others. Perhaps it did something to me that affected my regeneration and strength. Approaching him, Bardock shouts to know what she's doing. She kneels and expresses, "Kalyan, enough is enough. There's no point in continuing this fight. I know how you feel. Your comrades abandoned you and left you for dead. It must have been a horrible experience. And because of that, all you knew were resentment and a thirst for vengeance. But not all Saiyans are like that. Come with us and let us help you. You have a chance to start anew." Kalyan appears to put himself at ease. Sounds tempting. Perhaps you're right. Maybe you are different from the other Saiyans.
I don't know what the hell you are, but I can't allow you to live!
Using his last bit of strength, Bardock is able to avert disaster as Gine's willingness to forgive overcomes her better judgment. She tries to help him back up, reasoning that she didn't think Kalyan had the strength left to even attempt something like that. However, he knew better. Bardock was pretty much waiting for him to try something like that. But he really does hope he's dead this time. He can barely lift a finger. Gazing over. Yeah, he might be dead for real this time. She admits she was naive and it almost got both of them killed, pleading for his forgiveness. If he decides to kick her off the team, she understands. But he laughs. "What are you saying? I had a blast fighting by your side. I look forward to seeing how you do on our next mission." "The next mission? Does that mean?" And maybe ignoring a little bias here, he smiles. "That's right. She passed the test. Just don't tell the others. It'll ruin the surprise." Speaking of which, the gang calls down after him. Happy to see they're not dead after all. Turning to his second command, Bardock questions Toma what happened to all those Steel Rippers. He tells how they're lucky to still be alive. No matter how many they took down, they just kept coming one after another. But then, when they were surrounded, they suddenly ceased their attack and just left. He's not sure why though. But Bardock does. It must have been Kalyan's mind control. When he died, the link was lost between his orders and the Rippers. Trying to hand her something, Faja comments, "By the way, Gine, I found your precious little ribbon. You want it back?" She thanks her, but nah. She thinks she's gonna keep her hair down from now on. Upon asking if there's a reason why... A little later, back on the surface, the captain inquires on the status of their ships, which carries both good and bad news. With the girls, Faja lets her old friend know that she's glad she didn't die down there. She doesn't want to have to go finding herself another mortal rival. Getting to the bad news first, Toma tells how all their ships were damaged, but Gine's was utterly destroyed. The good news is they can still get home with what they've got. Funny enough, Bardock's ship is in the best condition, leaving Gine to wonder if her ship is broken. How's she gonna get back? Faja quells her not to worry. The two of them will just ride together. However, Bardock thinks that might not be the best idea. Her ship may suffer a breakdown on the way back if it's carrying more than one passenger. And since his ship is still in the best condition, he thinks it would be best if Gine travels with him, so they can avoid any unforeseen circumstances. Lady and bump into Mock.
Hey, Gine! My ship's in pretty good condition. How about you ride with me? Shut your damn mouth!
As the Saiyans made their way back to planet Vegeta, an enigmatic figure approaches Kalyan's corpse. Examining the remains, a robot iterates, "My apologies, Doctor, but it would appear experiment 030922 has failed." Who refutes, "On the contrary, Android 190386. This experiment yielded more results than I had initially planned. The only downside is that this clone failed to meet my experiment's expectations." Fortunately, I was able to collect some valuable data to resume my research on the creation of my super clones. Also, my only mistake in all of this was not having the right test subjects. As we get a visual, even if a masked one, of the scientist who transformed Kalyan into a cyborg, it may seem his eyes may now be set on Gine, possibly due to the Akari form she very briefly displayed against his creation. We'll have to wait and see how this story plays out another day. For now, we head back to planet Vegeta after a few days, with our Saiyans returning from their mission. In the King's throne room, Vegeta huffs out. "I'm impressed, Bardock. You and your team managed to do a good job. Evidently, your mission on planet Oriopolis was a success. Then on that frozen planet, you discovered what happened to the scouting party who was sent there. At the same time, you eliminated the traitorous Saiyan Kalyan. However, the source of his modifications is still unknown." Looking up at the crew, he inquires if they have anything else to report. Thinking back to that Akari form Gine showed, Bardock believes that it's best he doesn't mention what happened. He can't risk the king seeing her as a threat. Standing, the captain confirms, "No sir, that is all." Good enough for Vegeta. He'd like to move on to the next topic. Looking at the two candidates, he assumes he has decided who will be the fifth member of his team. Based on his reports, both warriors performed quite admirably. However, Gine distinguished herself from Faja by being the first to complete her mission on Oriopolis, and in the battle against Kalyan, her participation was vital to their victory. This leads him to believe that it's only logical to conclude he'll be adding Gine to his team. Though, she interrupts. With the king's permission, she would like to offer a few words before the decision is made. A little bewildered by this, he appears to yield the floor. She explains that their mission has made her realize she is unfit to be a part of this team. Therefore, she would like to defer her position to Faja. As everyone looks on not knowing how to react, she continues that she's had much time to think about it, and she thinks that leaving the team is the best decision. She also believes Faja would be better suited for the role of team member. She's a strong, brave, and confident warrior, so she thinks she would be the best addition to Bardock's squad, and screaming at her to silence herself. King Vegeta beckons if she thinks this is a game. She has wasted her chance to be part of his army. He will not tolerate wavering peons among his ranks. Vegeta snarls that she should be immediately executed for this, prompting Bardock to interject. But destroying his iPad? He shouts he's not finished. Commanding Gine to listen well, he declares she is unfit to be part of this team or any other. She will never be a soldier. As of this moment, she will spend the remainder of her life working in the meat distribution system, barking at her to get out of his sight. Standing, she declares her withdrawal from his chamber without protest. Directing his attention to Faja, Vegeta assigns her as the last addition to this team, asking if that's understood. Who's probably the most confused out of anyone, but she agrees nonetheless. Later, at the castle outlook, Gine finds herself alone, perhaps just happy not to incur any more of the king's wrath. When Faja comes barreling after her, she screams to know what she was thinking. Does she think Faja's so pathetic that she needed to give up her place on the team? Is she making fun of her? They were about to choose her and she rejected it. Grabbing Faja's wrist to stop her aggressiveness. She's wrong. Everything she said in the chamber is true. She actually thinks she is the most qualified to be part of the squad. Everything that happened on their last mission made her realize that. Her friend retorts that being on this team was always her dream. And duh, of course, she knows that. And she doesn't regret all the effort she put into making it happen. But she realized that conquering planets isn't something that makes her happy. That's when Gine dangles some sort of shiny for her old friend to see. Congratulating her, she smiles, "You earned them." Grabbing them, what are these? Earrings? Why is she giving these to her? And she seriously doesn't remember their little bet? When it hits her, back when they were little. though Gine warned she better take good care of them. They were a gift from Oniat. According to him, a long time ago on one of his missions, he had a battle against a strange being. His opponent was really powerful and had mastered a strange ability called magic. She doesn't know much about it, but it's much different from the energy blast Saiyans can do. Oniat was at a huge disadvantage, but despite this, he proved to be skilled enough to achieve victory. However, he decided to spare her life in the end. He never explained why he did it. Maybe it was because his daughter had recently passed away, or maybe he saw something special in his foe. His adversary saw this as a noble act and gave him these earrings as a symbol of respect, calling them a sort of protective amulet. The being told him, "If you are ever about to die, these relics will protect you." Gine never really believed in these sort of things, but she always thought they were cute. Sometime later, Oniat gave them to her to take care of her in battle, and with that same intention, today she gives them to her friend. Pausing. Without facing her, Faja goes to hand them back to her, claiming she can't accept this. There's something she has to confess. When they both left the arena after their fight, it may have looked like a tie, but she was so defeated she couldn't even move. But Gine had managed to stand up even. If the king hadn't intervened, she would have definitely won. It didn't matter if she became a part of Bardock's team. Ultimately, Faja couldn't stand the thought of losing to her. That's why she can't accept these. After all, Gine is the true winner of their bet. In that case, she wants her to take him as a gift from her. This way they can both win. Gine gets to fulfill her childhood promise of joining the battle team, if not only to relinquish the position to her friend, who smirks as she still acts like a kid. Walking away, she figures she best be off. But the next time, they settle their score, and she's not gonna lose again. Gine's looking forward to their rematch, and she's looking forward to hearing all the adventures Faja's going to go on. Stopping her in her tracks, she mentions, "By the way." With a wink, she comments how Bardock is looking for her. At the Interplanetary Shipping Center, we can see Bardock heading towards a set of doors. Spotting Gine, the others said he'd find her here. Is she avoiding him? And it's not like that. She thinks she just needed some time alone. At any rate, he mentions how she took a big risk doing what she did with Vegeta. Which she knows, but she doesn't regret what she said. But she is sorry if it caused him any trouble. Looking through a window, he has to ask what she's doing in a place like this anyway. Truth is, she just wanted to look at the babies. These were all born with low power levels. Soon enough, they'll be sent off to different planets, where most of them likely won't survive. She couldn't help but wonder what would happen if she ended up like these kids. The doctors might have made a mistake after she herself was born. She just isn't cut out to be a warrior, much less a Saiyan. Her opposite remarks that whether it was a mistake or not, he's grateful things turned out the way they did. She performed admirably on their mission. He knows that. Causing her to hiss for him to stop saying that. It's not true at all. She failed to eliminate the inhabitants of Oriopolis. She couldn't bring herself to abandon them when they needed her help. She did everything wrong. Even Kallion was a threat, but she still chose to spare his life. They were almost killed because of her mistake. It was her fault, and yet, she'd do it again. Whenever she sees someone whose life is in danger, she just doesn't have the heart to ignore him. She doesn't expect someone as strong as him to understand that. And she's right. Bardock doesn't understand. They are Saiyans. Being strong is in their nature. But she made a big decision and stood by it, even in front of the king. He can respect that. She went with her gut and did what she thought was right. That's what matters most. She stayed true to her beliefs. And that's where real strength lies. She should never forget that. And don't let anyone else tell her otherwise, not even herself. With Gine's loudness waking the babies, Bardock figures they better get out of here before they get blamed for all the noise. Exiting, Gine tells how she still feels bad for causing him all this trouble. She wants to make it up to him with a home-cooked meal, just like old times. Well, he assures there's no need. If she's the one making it, it certainly couldn't hurt. As the pair head off, Gine decided to explain everything best she could to Oniat regarding her standing with the king. Fortunately, he never thought any less of her for it. He was still proud of her to the very end. She believed this was due to his own experience showing mercy upon his enemies. Sadly, Before she had the chance to spend much more time with him, he would finally be defeated by his illness. Despite his many years of service as a great warrior, the attendance for his funeral was underwhelming, such is the custom of Saiyan culture. Not wanting to disappoint him, she moved on with her life, holding her head high. Things were turning out better than she had imagined. She had made some new friends and got to see Bardock a lot more often. It even appears she warmed up to wearing the armor of Oniat's daughter. Despite not being an official member of the team, they all treated her like she belonged with them. She and Bardock went back to their daily routine, the same way they did as kids. Even though Oniat passed away, he made sure she never felt lonely. They shared some great times together. Then one night, while telling a story of how Pumpkin almost choked to death before Faja punched him in the stomach to save him, Gine can't help but feel that the team has a lot of fun together. And if she wants, he can try convincing the king to let her back on the team. Though she doesn't want him to bother, he already knows the reason she can't do that. He presses she still has the potential to become a great Saiyan warrior, and eventually she would even have her own team. But with that old woman logic, she narrows her eyes and takes offense that it seems the plan all along is just to get rid of her. Which of course is not at all what Bardock meant. To her, it seems like he's saying she's weak and he doesn't want her around anymore because of it. And confused where that's coming from, he's not saying that either. She shouts for him to stop sugarcoating things and just be direct with her. And if she wants him to be direct, then fine. Several years later, a young child comes running after Bardock shouting, "Father, I was selected to accompany Prince Vegeta on his next assignment." As we know, Raditz. He kneels down and tells him that's great news. Just make sure that cocky brat doesn't get too full of himself, prompting his son to ask if he's about to leave for his next mission. When Gine pokes her head around the corner, she beckons if he's leaving now. She thought he was going to stay a little longer this time. He presses her not to worry. He doesn't have to leave for a few more days. He still needs to meet up with the others and make preparations for the mission. Visibly pregnant with her second child, she beams that's a relief. Does this mean he'll be here when Kakarot's born? But Kakarot, choosing the name was supposed to be up to him. But not this time. He already got his when he decided to name their firstborn. Now it's her turn. But if he really wants to choose another name, he could always give it to their third child, something he's a little hesitant to commit to. Still focused on his dad's mission, and with a bit of a 1940 host vessel lead mindset, Raditz wants to know the race of the weaklings he's going to conquer this time. Causing his mother to chastise that she doesn't approve of him belittling alien species like that, something he seems to do a lot as he doesn't even know what he said wrong. But his father explains, Frieza still hasn't decided which planet they'll attack first. It'll be between Planet Cereal and Planet Kanasa. If you know, you know. While she doesn't know about Cereal, Hine's heard rumors that Kanasa has a special energy that gives people strange abilities, pleading with her husband to be careful. However, she's got nothing to worry about. This mission will be a walk in the park. For now, it's time for him to go strategize with the others. Taking to the air, he promises to be back before dinner. As his family waves him off, Raditz turns to his mother as there's something he wanted to ask her. If Kakarot's born with a low power level, does that mean he'll be a disgrace to the family? And of course not. He has to understand that the circumstances of one's birth does not define who they will become. And that is something each individual has to decide for themselves. It just takes effort, dedication, and determination. She knows Kakarot will grow up to be strong and a great warrior, just like she knows Raditz will as well. The boy asks a question how she knows that. And it's because that is what she has decided as an individual to believe in. Sometimes, we never know if we're destined to achieve our goals, but she knows that they must never give up, no matter what stands against us. Our paths may be unclear, but every challenge we face is an opportunity that drives us to become stronger than we can imagine. And it's only a matter of faith in ourselves that keeps us moving forward.